It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. And now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, Showtime, what's happening, everybody? I hope you had a great weekend. Memorial Day weekend. Don't forget, Memorial Day is in memory. So we honor the memory of the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice, members of the military, veterans who gave their life for service of their country to protect us and this country. So we honor the memory of those men and women. That's why we celebrate Memorial Day. And then we do all the other stuff, barbecues, backyard barbecues and cookouts and picnics and do the movie thing and, you know, go get linen outfits and seersuckers, suits and sundresses and all that. And all that good stuff that we normally do. And it's the unofficial beginning of summer on the calendar. Summer begins June 21st, but summer's here now, all right? Now, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Normally, 5 days a week. Yesterday was Monday, Memorial Day, no live show. Programming note next week. Next week, we'll have a live show Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Tell everybody to subscribe to the Geno Jones Show YouTube channel. Please make sure that you financially support my media company, this show, and my channel. It is so important that we financially support Black-owned media so shows and platforms like mine not just survive, but thrive and grow. So you can Zelle me. You can Zelle at Geno Jones. Type in my email address, GenoJonesShow@gmail.com. So you can make a financial contribution or a gift or a love offering or belated birthday blessing, since my birthday was a week ago today. So you can do that if you like, or you can cash out $, Dad G Jones. That's all one word. $, capital D, lowercase a d, capital G, capital J O N E S, $, Dad G Jones. So please. No donation is too small or too large. $5, $50 million, we'll take it all. Okay, so let's do this thing here, because I had a great weekend. Real quick, shout out to Jamal Roberts. Jamal Roberts, who? He is this year's brand new American Idol for season 23. So Jamal, the brother, he's from repping Mississippi, repping the SIP, the second black man to become American Idol, the winner in 22 years. Back in the day, we had my man Ruben, Big Ruben Studdard. He was the first American Idol. Then we had Fantasia. So shout out to Jamal Roberts, and big shout out to Lionel Richie and Luke Bryan, who were judges, who showed Jamal Roberts a lot of love. Because everybody on the show didn't show him love. I ain't gonna mention no names. Carrie Underwood, because she wasn't really happy. There was a white dude that sang country, a country music artist, a white dude. So she was really caping for him. And just look at, when they announced the grand prize winner, just look at Jamal Roberts, the brother who won, and look at everybody's reaction, like the judges. Look at Lionel Richie, look at Luke Bryan, and then watch how Carrie Underwood, how she was, oh yeah. She was, you could tell, just the look on her face. She was in her feelings. She was pissed, but that's okay. So shout out to Jamal. Happy birthday today, Left Eye Lisa Left Eye Lopez. Happy heavenly birthday to Lisa Left Eye Lopez. Would have been 54 today. Wow, rest in power, Left Eye. Happy birthday, Andre 3000 from Outkast. The Big Nickel. That's what I call 50 or 50. The Big Nickel, $50. And shout out to Janet Jackson. She received the Icon Award at the American Music Awards. She actually performed live on the American Music Awards. That was the first time in 7 years she performed Janet there on TV. I love Janet. Janet, we got some questions, Janet. You and Randy, we got some questions. You know, I love you. I do. But we got some questions in regard to Kamala Harris. We'll have that conversation later, Janet. I love you. I hope to see you somewhere this summer. But yeah, the culture is like, yo, Janet, you? Like the saying, E2 Brutus, A2 Brutus. Janet, you too? No. Okay. All right, listen, I want to get my guest on. I want to make sure that I am banging this drum. I'm going to beat this drum like Sheila E. Like When Sheila E. was Prince's drummer, I'm going to bang these drums like Sheila E. was when she was dating Prince. And I'm banging the drums about the benefits that this cult, half of the cult has already voted to take away. Because people are going to lose their Medicare benefits, their Medicaid benefits, SNAP benefits. It's going to affect millions of people across America. As a matter of fact, 68 million people receive Medicaid, and it's, primarily it's children and like teenagers, young people. 72 million people receive Medicaid. Actually, so let me get that right. 68 million. Actually, 68 million receive Medicare. Medicare is health insurance for people 65 and over. So your parents, your grandparents, along with their Social Security benefits, that's the check, the money, and the Medicare is their health insurance. So millions of those 65 and over stand to lose their health insurance through Medicaid. 72 million Americans receive Medicaid. Medicaid basically is insurance for children, adults with disabilities, people like that for the most part. And the majority of those in nursing homes in America, those nursing homes are funded by Medicaid. So this 800, as a matter of fact, I got my guest come on, but we're talking about billions of dollars in cuts. It's going to affect a lot of people. I'm hearing in South Carolina, you got 308,000 households in South Carolina, because SNAP benefits, they're coming for that also. Over 308,000 people, households. So households could mean you could have 5, 6, 7, 8 people in a household. Basically, 626 people in South Carolina alone receive SNAP benefits. Millions of people across America receive SNAP benefits. So my guest today, former South Carolina state representative. A lot of us still trying to get her to run for senator, governor. She did the House thing. So we like, but the sister got to protect her peace. She goes hard in the paint. A lot of people are familiar with the sister in the U.S. House of Representatives, my girl Jasmine Crockett, who's a representative from a district in Texas. As a matter of fact, I think her district is part of Dallas. Well, we had Jasmine Crockett before Jasmine Crockett, and there's no shade to Jasmine, because Jasmine is brilliant and beautiful and all that. But we actually had somebody that had that same energy, so we still got her. She's part of the Geno Jones family, Geno Jones Show family, along with my guest, my legal expert, brilliant mind, brilliant legal mind, just brilliant mind altogether. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome to the show Representative Crystal Matthews. Also, she's an author too, and Professor Sean Mitchell. Now, only because he's family. Now, I don't know why he's trying to troll me today. Now, I'm going to give him and then on top of it, I'm going to charge you. Come on now. I love you. You family. But now, you're going to have to, I'm going to need, so just at the end of the show, Geno Jones Show, so you can Zelle me, use my email address, genojonesshow@gmail, or you can Cash App $Dad G Jones. So you're going to have to, pony up some sponsorship, some ad money, because the Cubs ain't paid for this free advertising, especially since I'm a White Sox fan. Wow. And the Ricketts family, they got enough money because, you got some MAGA cult members. Part of it, the Ricketts is a billionaire family. They own the Cubs. And the weird thing is, like, half the family is MAGA and the other half is not MAGA at all. So that would make for an interesting Thanksgiving dinner. So since you rocking the Cubs gear on behalf of the Cubs,
but look what I got. Look what I got, though. Look what I got.
No. That ain't the White Sox.
Yeah, but what I'm telling you is, we all can agree on this team.
They can afford. So on behalf of the McCaskey family and the Ricketts family, on behalf of the Bears and Cubs, you can just go ahead and make a contribution in their name.
This is also the Chicago Fire, the soccer team. Remember I was their legal intern when I was in law school. So I mean,
well, I won't charge. Okay, so they don't have to pay, but the Cubs, and I won't even charge the McCaskey's family, even though they cheap as hell. But the Rickers got enough money. They got more money than the McCaskeys and the Bears. So, on behalf of the Chicago Cubs, I expect to see something in my Cash App or Zelle when the show's over.
How about we do this since you brought up Chicago? If you could schedule it in your heart in 2026, when the White Sox play the Chicago Cubs in the Crosstown
in 2026.
Yeah, because I'm not going to Comiskey Park over 3 times this year. And so if I went an extra time, that would break my code of only going into Comiskey 3 times a year. So what I'm offering is an opportunity to show some Northside hospitality from us Cub fans by you coming to Chicago, back home. Hell, we can even go by Wiener Circle if you want to and get a little blurb on TV. But my point is that why don't you come back home and we can go to a game? You could put on your Sox jersey and Cubs jersey, and we go out to Wrigley Field. And then what we'll do is, starting after that point, the next year we'll go to a Sox game at the Sox Park. All this is my treat. I'll buy the tickets for those games.
Take that money that you were gonna spend on tickets and everything else, and just Zelle or Cash App it. And so now, see, you are a bad example, family. Normally you don't do, but now here's Crystal. Now I can't charge my brother, and not charge. So the Yankees or the Knicks or whoever you repping with their New York hat, I'm gonna need, on behalf of the New York sports teams, you can make a contribution or a love offering, a belated birthday. You can go ahead and you got the Zelle at Geno Jones at Gmail, and you got the Cash App $Dad GG. See, she dropped that hat quick, Sean. She like, hell, look.
I was gonna laugh. She went off.
She
turned her camera.
Well, but you can
turn her camera off.
They can see Crystal, the Steinbrenners. They can Cash.
I got stuff to do. You know, I got stuff to do.
Right. They can cash. They can Zelle you, and you can Zelle me. Cause
no, this is my second home.
All the New York owners, from the Steinbrenners to everybody else, they got enough money so they can. Mr. Dolan, who owns the billionaire that owns the Knicks. So I digress. Welcome, guys. So Sean, we had a visitor here in Charleston, South. We had 2 visitors here in Charleston, South Carolina this morning. Representative Matthews will tell me. Now, what I found funny, so I'm sure Representative Nancy Mace, who really made a fool out of herself, so she tried to clown one of our iconic journalists, who is truly a journalist in the old school sense, like the Edward R. Murrow, Walter Cronkite type journalist, a brother named Raphael James. And he basically was asking her, when was she gonna hold town halls that would be open to all the public? Because she's been holding town halls in places to where you didn't have public access, and claimed she was doing these. Well, I'm doing these public town halls, and he called her on her bullshit, and she tried to distract. She went the MAGA racist route, but it was a master class in poise and professionalism, because he didn't lose his cool. She said, "Are you fake news?" He said, "Are you a fake congressman?" And pivoted and went right back to asking the questions. Crystal will tell you, but it's funny. I would like to ask her, was she okay? She voted basically this big ugly bill that's going to make these huge cuts in Medicaid, when you got hundreds of thousands of people here in South Carolina. As a matter of fact, there's over 1 million people in South Carolina that's enrolled in Medicare right here in this state, and you got 72 million actually enrolled in Medicare across the country. So, Rep. Matthews, did you hear anything about this visit? Did anybody ask him about? And Tim Scott is a senator, so now this bill is going to the House, the U.S. Senate. So I hope everybody has blown up their phone. We're going to encourage everybody to blow up their phones. But Rep. Matthews, did anyone ask Miss Mace about her voting to cut Medicare for 1.2 million people who are enrolled in Medicare in South Carolina?
Well, of course not. According to what I read, their representatives were not available for comment as they were here just to tour the boats that are left abandoned in the harbor. And they are actually proposing to spend $7 million to help clean up those boats. Now, I don't know why that would be passed on to anybody besides the owners of the boats. I mean, isn't that what they say about everything else? Why is that now being funneled on as a cost to other people? I don't know, but they were not here for comment on cutting Medicaid and Medicare or SNAP benefits to the many people who need them. So, no, in answer to your question, no, they were not. But it is sad to see what is going on. I don't think people realize that when the middle to lower class collapse and go away, that's how you end up in a recession. Recessions come because there's not enough economic value spread in a circle to sustain businesses, medical entities. We talk about cutting Medicaid. There's already people who have to travel all the way from the upstate down here to Charleston to get certain doctors to look at them. I remember when the speaker told me he was at MUSC, and I was like, wait, now you live. And I said, you come all the way down here? And he said, yeah, but if you have Medicaid, your list of providers shrinks. It's more done like roll call, like cattle call. And how do I know this? Because I've been on Medicaid before, Geno. So when you start shrinking this and bottling these people up, then you have people who can't be seen and don't have access. You have providers who can't afford, without the supplemental help from the government, they can't afford to treat these people. So now you're closing down clinics and hospitals. So I digress, but yeah, that's just a little to where we're going to. So no, they're more worried about cleaning up votes than they are worried about how people will thrive and survive in the healthcare industry right now.
Wow. So you got just here, like we said, in South Carolina, 1.2 million people in South Carolina are enrolled in Medicare, 72 million nationwide. Now, and I didn't know this, but thank you for sharing, and you can educate us and the public in a little deeper dive. What people don't understand, the majority of people on Medicaid are children and young people, primarily adults who are disabled, and the majority of nursing. So think about all these nursing homes in South Carolina. The majority of virtually all those nursing homes are funded by Medicaid. So, so what's going to happen when these nursing homes? What's going to happen to the parents and the grandparents that's going to be literally either forced out on the street or worse when these Medicare benefits are cut, not just here but nationwide?
I agree. 62% of our Medicaid recipients here in South Carolina in 2023 was white folks. 62. I mean, you got 24% Black, 7.4 Hispanic, and 1.7 Asian, and of course the other ones are so low that they're like 0.2 or something else. And so when we talk about the racial divide here in South Carolina, I'm always baffled because I think folks think they're hurting us, with the MAGA and all of that, but there's more of them on it than there are of us. And when we talk about, they forget that people who are obese, people who have diabetes, cardiovascular disease, those things are expensive. A lot of people can't afford their treatments for those, and they're on Medicaid or Medicare. Infants, a lot of infants, like you said, and a lot of these folks getting these opioid treatments are also on Medicaid. So while we keep talking about it, it's like they just find ways to just keep digging and digging at us. Medicare is only 17% 0.2% of our aid, and Medicaid is 19.9. But for the most part, almost over 40% is employer paid or military or some other private group. So it's just, I think people need to really start to understand what this is going to look like in real time. And I'll stop because I want to give you all a chance to jump in. I do have some other stats about money and income because, again, I have been in these shoes, and so I know exactly what this looks like. I know what it feels like to make $100 more than the income limit for a family. Everybody knows I was a single mother of 5 forever, right? Just for example, if you have a household that's four people, Geno, how much do you think you can make a month gross income to qualify? What's the most you think you can make for 4 people?
You talking about? We talking about here in South Carolina?
Here in South Carolina.
To qualify for, because I know
Medicaid.
Medicaid.
To qualify for Medicaid.
Yeah, and I think we should explain this, Crystal and Sean. Medicaid is different than Medicare because Medicare is health insurance for seniors primarily, 65 and
Correct.
over. That is strict. That is all federal money or run by the federal government. Medicaid, Crystal, you can speak to it, is a little different, especially not just because you were on Medicaid, but because you were a state legislator. Medicaid is like a partnership between the federal government and the state government. Local governments run, for the most part,
Correct.
They run Medicare. Am I right?
Correct. So I want Sean to jump in here in just a second, right? So you never guessed the number for a household of 4 for Medicaid. Do you want to take a stab at it?
So you said what about $20,000?
Gross monthly.
Oh,
Think
monthly. Somewhere around 2,000, maybe 1,500.
Yeah. So $2,633. That's no money. That's $2,633 when you're talking about the fact that most people's rent or mortgage is $1,500. I mean, get that. So you can't even.
Right. You've been a homeowner for a while. Rent, like as a couple years ago, was, I mean, a 1-bedroom. You were lucky to find a 1-bedroom for under $2,000.
Correct.
Here in
Charleston. So think about that. Yeah. You can't even comfortably pay your bills without disqualifying yourself for medical assistance. And I know you talked about Medicare being for 60 and over. But I want to let you know something. You cannot keep assets of more than $3,000 if you're on Medicare. I mean, you worked your whole life, but they be damned if you keep more than $3,000 of savings in your account. And under some special circumstances, $4,500. And as soon as your ass dies, they're going to try to do a state recovery. And unless your family has a lawyer like Mr. Mitchell that might be savvy enough to get around some loopholes, they're going to come and take your estate and get the money back that they actually paid out while they were taking care of you. So are they really taking care of you?
Wait, Crystal, is that on Medicare?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
It's called a state recovery. Look it up. If you don't believe me, look it up.
Wow.
I'm gonna let Sean get in because it's for his area.
So you can't have any kind of like a mutual fund or self-managing.
What I just say? You can't have no assets totaling more than $3,000.
Wow.
I just told you that.
Yeah.
That's all you can have, sir.
That happens. That's it's like that in a lot of the red states. Most of the blue states who happen to spend, for every dollar Illinois spends to the federal government, we get something like 23 cents back. And for every dollar South Carolina sends, they get $1.50 back. But the unfortunate part about that $1.50 going back to South Carolina, it's never spent on the residents of South Carolina, whether it be education, healthcare, even roads to some extent. And so what the people of South Carolina have to ask themselves is the data that Rep. Matthews just pointed out. If you are a member of MAGA because you're on some kind of DEI, CRT, anti immigration, anti non Christian, anti women's right, anti equal access to education and resources crusade to punish the others, and you're cutting your own throat, you get what you deserve. It's unfortunate that
Amen.
some people are going to get hurt by this, but uh, some black folks in South Carolina are the cause of this being this way too. What do I mean? In my experience living in South Carolina, and trying to register rural black voters and trying to help black voters. Where I think when I lived there, and my data may be wrong, but when I lived there in the early 2000s to the 2011, in some counties, there's 70% African American population, yet they don't have any of the elected official posts. They have no, they're not in charge of the sheriffs. They don't own property. They don't get to choose zoning. They don't get to be on the school board and all of this. And that is a direct result of lack of participation, lack of community coordination, and worried about things like Black Bike Week instead of worrying about is everybody registered and going to local election.
You
And so
preaching
that's
good.
always been my issue,
Go ahead, Crystal.
you know.
I say you preaching good. I'm over here. I got my amen corner going.
So here's what has to happen, and some people get upset, but the truth of the matter is, pain is the best educator, because when my pockets get hurt and I realize that red hat that I own that ain't made in America from the same guy that's talking about putting tariffs on stuff not made in America except his stuff, or the same guy that's trying to root out corruption. I wrote an editorial today about the DOJ dropping their pattern and practices consent decrees in police departments. Here's the I'm going to be hard on crime president, who's also 34-time felon, a serial misogynist and a sexual assaulter, a tax cheat, cheated on all three of his wives, lies in depositions, is basically on dementia. And so now the corporate media's goal is to say, we have Trump derangement syndrome. Really? Are you serious? So here's the reality. People, what we have been saying that was possibly going to happen since the late 90s when you let Republicans take over government is now happening. The systematic destruction of institutions. South Carolina, Texas, Georgia, to some extent, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Oklahoma have all been test states. Now it's coming to the federal government. And the Republicans are aiding and abetting the largest theft from the United States Treasury, the largest destabilization of a fiat currency that we will ever experience. And red hat neo-fascist, Christo-fascist racists have taken over the country, and they are going to destroy the country rather than see anybody of color or women or people live their lives unless they look or think like them. And to some extent, a lot of us allowed this to happen. I'm not talking about us on the phone. I'm talking about each one of us have a maggot black person or a disrespectful black person that don't love themselves within our family that supports this stuff. And so that's the reality. A third of the population has hijacked the United States, taken over the Constitution, and so here's we are. So what do you need to do? You need to prepare for the worst. You know what I'm saying? You should be saving. You shouldn't be in the club on Friday nights. You should be at Costco buying some of those MRE meals that you add water to and keeping water and ammunition at your house, and being prepared for they're willing to destroy it all just to get back at President Obama, at the advances we've made in civil rights. They want to take us back to 1859, not
Mhm.
even not even 1950. That's what they want. That's what they've always want. And people have snoozed and worry about the wrong things. And so here
Yeah.
we are.
So let me just say this. So, and we all know the numbers. We know 92% of black women, 80% of black men didn't vote for this madness. 53% of white women, I think the number was somewhere near 60. Sean or Crystal, white men, it was, I think, in the low to mid 60s percent of white men. And it was funny on that point, Crystal, you talked about how over 60%, I forgot the exact number,
So
of
52%.
62% of those who are enrolled in Medicare are white here in South Carolina. And that number is similar to the amount of the white vote that Orange Hitler got in South Carolina. So, and now I'm gonna toss it to you, Crystal. And I've said this so many times to the MAGA cult members, to some of those black folks, because there's one in my chat room that wants to blame the Democrats and Biden. This is beyond partisanship. This is not
I was
about.
getting ready to say. So listen, this is
Well,
beyond.
let me finish this point and jump in. So it's beyond this political horse race and this ideology. What you have to understand, for those, this part of the cult with the red hat made in China and the flag made in China and all of this, is that we gave you the math, all right? So you had a member of the U.S. House of Representatives here in South Carolina, Nancy Mace, that voted to take away the Medicaid benefits of 60% of the people who receive Medicaid in South Carolina, who are white. So the majority of people who receive Medicaid in South Carolina stand to lose those benefits. Now, many of those people voted for Nancy Mace, so they voted for this administration. So what I've been saying all along is that race and sexism and misogyny and patriarchy and bigotry and hate in all of its forms, it has been used as catnip. It is a con. This whole construct of race is a con game. And it's been a con since the 1680s. So you had always a small handful of people, all the way back to the 17th century, when this whole construct of race was created, because Europeans never called themselves white before the 1680s, and they created that so the poor working class Europeans, or peasants as they referred to, or worse, that they could pit those people against people of color all across the globe, because fear, hatred, bigotry has always been big business, and it is now. So so for the MAGA hat wearers out there, you can trip on me and Crystal and Sean. You can use the N-word. I would advise not to do it in people's face, because somebody in Mississippi went into a black bar in Mississippi and did that, and they found out. But the point is that you've been hoodwinked and bamboozled with this whole thing about race, because it's people that look like you that sat in Congress and voted to take away the Medicare benefits for you and your family. So it'll be your parents or your grandparents, white MAGA cult members and black and everybody else. They'll be your parents or grandparents that'll literally be out on the street when these nursing homes close, or when they can't get health insurance. People that look like you. It won't be a black person. It won't be Kamala Harris. It won't be Barack Obama. It won't be Joe Biden. It won't be LeBron James. It won't be a trans woman. It won't be a Venezuelan in some kind of gang, or Cuban or Mexican. It's going to be people that look just like you, that brainwash you with this bullshit to make you think that you need to be afraid of people that look like us, when those people that you keep voting for don't give a shit about you. And now they are showing you that Everybody paying taxes. Elon Musk gets $8 million a day. And he is responsible for hundreds of thousands, probably close to millions of Americans. And the majority of those people that lost those jobs that Elon Musk cut were white. And a significant number of them voted for this madness. So you can continue to be hoodwinked, but we are in the find out. You effed around, you are finding out. And the point that we are trying to make, and I'm just putting it where the ghosts can get it, as my grandfather and Joe Madison said, this whole construct, you all can keep playing this race, thinking that DEI and trans folks and Black Lives Matter is the reason that you're about to lose your Medicaid and Medicare. Got nothing to do with that. People that you voted for, people that identify as you, as white, voted to take away all the money for all your health benefits and SNAP benefits and everything else, to give some billionaires that don't give a shit about you, give them your money. All right, Crystal, I just had to just set that on the table there. I didn't mean to toss you that hot potato, but I just,
No, you're perfectly fine, and I'm gonna pick up right where you left off when we talk about people like Elon Musk and we talk about Doge. Most of the businesses that were affected by those cuts are small businesses and women and minority-owned businesses. And the important part of this is that white women seem to think that they're not part of the minority, but they're classified as minority. And when these folks are going through checks and balances, they're not taking the time to figure it out. They're just cutting it across the board. They don't even want women in charge. Listen, they're trying to take us back to the antebellum days, like back in the day.
Handmaid's Tale.
There you go, a Handmaid's Tale. But check this though. I talk the way I talk for a reason, and I think one of the things that we have to acknowledge is that Black women are one of the most rising educated groups. If you look at college attendance rates and you look at enrollment and things like that, and that's fine. I love that for us, but I don't want those who didn't go to college to feel like they don't have a voice in this fight. And the reason why is because the folks following MAGA are the uneducated white folks. And we've heard how they talk on the news. We've seen many interviews, but we have been so programmed to dislike our own. It's almost like when you watch your kids say their speech, you're like, oh man, he kind of stuttered right there. But the crowd didn't even notice, right? But you were just more critical because it was your baby. Mm-hmm. When your baby cries, you think it sounds louder than everybody else's baby in the store. That's how Black folks view other Black folks on TV and social media. And I think what happens is we just bear down on us. So when you talk about companies like Amazon, when you talk about companies like Walmart, Target, is it true that they get a kickback for their low-income employees? No, that's not true. But most of their employees are on Medicaid or some kind of other health assistance. So guess what happens? Mm-hmm. They get lower healthcare insurance costs, and the taxpayers pick up the tab because we know that those public services come out of our tax dollars. So instead of going in reverse and making these businesses pay a livable wage where folks can actually afford health coverage and cover those costs, we keep getting it passed back on to us, and we might not be the smartest we might not even know that that's how the funnel is going. So it's like when you look at your check and you see FICA, if you go find a check stub, if you see FICA, look at your FICA. Let me tell you something. I used to be so mad at FICA so many days, y'all. So many days, all my life. I feel like I had to fight.
Who the hell is FICA? I will whoop his ass. We're taking all of them.
Exactly. Look at your check. And when you look at that tax side and it say FICA, I want you to remember this conversation that I'm having with you right now. Yeah, Walmart is not paying them enough and not offering them insurance. And a lot of jobs are also cutting their hours where they don't qualify for the insurance, right? So by having a lot of low-income part-time employees right? They can avoid the insurance cost. Now they can afford it, but they're not paying for it. Those folks are going to go and apply for public assistance, SNAP, Medicaid, Medicare, and I say Medicare because them door greeters got to be over 60, honey. I ain't know who they stopping and what they checking, but honey, they there to do it. So listen, all of those folks, we're paying tax money to carry their health insurance. We might as well be their mamas and daddies because we're not making Walmart do their part. Their child support is overdue. Yeah. And we need to make sure that we have some folks that is willing to, like you said, put it where the goats can get it so that people can understand. Because when you start talking about kickbacks, and sometimes you lose people. And again, there's nothing wrong with being educated, but don't be so focused on sounding educated that you lose the people you're talking to.
But Crystal, you also know this being on Medicaid, that the majority of people, unless they are physically disabled that get Medicaid, they are working. Mm-hmm. So yes, all those people that you mentioned at places like a Walmart or Amazon that still depend on Medicaid benefits and SNAP benefits, when they're cut, then they're going to be just ass out. So I just want to piggyback. Sean, you were saying that instead of going on the club on Friday nights, I say we can do the club on Friday night, but Saturday morning get up and take your ass to Costco. You got the whole week. You got Saturday and Sunday morning. I know, because they're open. But let me say this. Let me say this though. All jokes aside, guys, and Rep Matthews will tell you, Sean, he's full disclosure. He talked about this on earlier shows. He once worked for soon to be retiring Senator Dick Durbin, senator from Illinois. The one job that most politicians, you can say, oh, really? Because with the job comes the power, and now it's the corruption. The one job the politicians have is to get reelected. And the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And there's a reason to why certain groups can get things done more so than others. Because those certain groups, they make a lot of noise. They call, they blow up the phones, they shut down the phone lines, they tie up people's email. So I'm giving you a number. If you are living anywhere, and if you found out that your representative, whoever represents you, and you can Google it, Google who is my U.S. House of Representative member, and you can type in your zip code. You can do it by voice. You can use Google or Chat GPT, whatever the hell, Gemini, whatever the hell you got. And you can search and find out exactly who represents you in the United States House of Representatives. And you definitely can call your senators. Crystal, you may have a number for the House, but your U.S. Senator, because now senators have to vote. South Carolina, Tim Scott, Lindsey Graham up for re-election, 202, area code 224-3121. 202, area code 224-3121. Y'all need to call that number like you're trying to win $1,000 on a radio contest. You need to blow that number up. You need to copy and paste it. You need to put it, as a matter of fact, save it to your contacts in memory and just speed dial that BI. 202 area code.
Can I put in a shameless plug?
Your 202 area code 224-3121. Yeah, go ahead, Crystal.
Wait, I'm not ready yet. Keep going.
Okay. Sean, go ahead. I just want you to pick up. But and you, Sean, please speak to this. Someone that's worked in a U.S. Senator's office. Don't take my word for it. He will tell you that they track. They actually they track the amount of calls that they get for different pieces of legislation and bills. Yeah. And it can make a difference. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah. We track every call that would come into the office, from the flat earthers to the people who wanted to have prayer in school. I mean, the senators are. I worked for Senator Durbin, and I can also speak for Senator Tammy Duckworth's office, and I forget the Republican, Senator Kirk was in Tammy Duckworth's office before she became senator. And even though he was a Republican, and I know Illinois Republican is a lot different than a red state Republican, but let me say this. I used to talk to the aides in his office, and they did the same thing. And so that lets you know that all the senators, they're political beings. They care about that stuff. When there's controversies, you should sign up for your senator's mailing list. They will campaign, raise money off a controversy. And so that gives you an idea about the person who's representing you. I I subscribe to the Republicans in my state that represent us, as well as the Democrats, because my attitude, I don't have to vote for you to hold you accountable. Did you hear that, folks? I don't have to vote for you to hold you accountable. So when I hear stories like Representative Mace not allowing her constituents an opportunity to address them. Now, listen how that sounds. These folks are running around debating about 1619 and want to say 1776 is the starting point of the country. And that whole thing is built off a group of British subjects that were not allowed to redress the government about their issues and policies, taxation without representation, and not having due process rights, whether it's rights to cover your property or your persons. And those same group of people, then when we got Juneteenth finally as a national holiday, or when we talk about Black History Month, or when we talk about the sister from the University of North Carolina's 1619 project, they get all up in arms.
Professor Dr. Hannah, I think Hannah Jones.
Dr.
Jones.
Yeah, Dr. Hannah Jones. My apologies. You know, I'm getting a little older, as you can tell. So, and I apologize to all the DJs out there that I threw salt on the Friday night club, because I'm one of those people that came into the industry as a hip hop DJ and all that. I brought hip hop to the radio. Just to let you know, I didn't pay my terms, and here we are full circle, because grown men rid themselves of childish things. And so
okay, I'm ready
point,
now.
I had to change up. So I'm going to wrap up my lecture by saying this to everyone out there. I'm always going to advocate for everybody to fight for your rights. We all have a right to stand up and speak our mind. But along with that, there are consequences, accountability, and responsibilities. And your elected official, I don't care if it's the dog catcher, I don't care if it's the congressman, senator, state senator, whoever, they owe us an accountability to the actions they take. Voting and not protecting everybody's due process rights is a non-starter for me, and it should be a non-starter for you.
And Crystal, I just want to pick up on what Sean said, because I have notes in my studio, basically just notes and premises, themes from my monologue, and I've been meaning to. And I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do a show where I have a solo monologue talking about leadership. Now, those who say that politicians are leaders, politicians are in a leadership position. But what I want everybody that's watching me right now to understand is politicians are not the leaders. You are the leaders. The politicians don't have power without your vote or your apathy. One of the two. You have the power. You are the leader. And you can make the politicians follow your lead. But the squeaky wheel gets the oil. You got to make the noise. You got to call. You got to blow up their phone banks. Like Sean said, they track every call. Blow up the phones, shut down the phone lines, shut down the service with the email, and show up, show out, and vote. It's not about please, y'all understand. I think after November 5th, 2024, you get it. It is way, for all those, including some in my chat room that want to, come for the Democrats, just stop talking. Because now you have a cult in control that don't give a shit about policy. Their only policy is how can we make these billionaires richer, and we don't give a damn about all these suckers with these red hats that voted for us, that we tricked them with that ad. She's Kamala's for they them, that bullshit. And you still worrying about a trans woman that make up less than 1% of this country? Somebody you've probably never seen wouldn't know a trans woman if you saw one. And if you saw one, you might be jealous because some of them trans women look better than your woman or your ass. If we just gonna tell the truth and shame the devil. So once again, you are being hoodwinked with this bullshit. So these folks, these billionaires, they can continue to dig in your pockets. Crystal, what was that product placement here? Do we need to invoice this? Who is that? Who?
Listen, this is my new website.
Oh, congrats! Yes, please tell everybody about that.
I'm gonna use it. PoliticalHubLLC.com. So this is a nonpartisan political website where you can sign up to be a monthly member. It has access to all 50 state websites. There's a clickable link. It has a direct link to the White House news. A lot of people just don't know where to find information. So I created this website that has all these clickable links, no matter where you are, that will take you to your people. And then it also breaks down how to read a bill, like the meat and potatoes, part by part. What do you need to focus on depending on what you're looking for? It also talks about campaign strategy. There's a ad spot in there for people who want to advertise on the page. There's a place for community events on the page. If you're having a community event in your state and you want me to publish it, there's a place for it to go. This is because folks get confused a lot, and when they feel overwhelmed and they don't know where to look, go here, okay?
PoliticalHubLLC.com. All right.
And the logo looks like this. So when you see this is the logo.
I love it. I love it.
Okay. And educate, connect.
She's protected her intellectual property and all that. I
have protected my intellectual property because I did do a starter guide for those wanting to run for office called The Miseducation of Politics 101. And it's just a downloadable guide that you can get to help you if you're not sure what you want to do. But I just want to encourage your audience, as always, do not feel like you have to be the most important, educated, credentialed person in the room. I literally ran for my office not knowing what was going on. One of the most hated Republicans in the South Carolina State House was quoted as saying, there aren't many people I can say I know are here for the people, but she's one of them. And I will fight probably until I ain't got no breath in my body. But I am still out here advocating for you all, fighting for you all. I don't ask my callers what color they are before I advocate for them. But I mean, I don't know where people get some of this stuff from. Like, some of it is really laughable. I feel like you have to have a sense of humor or you won't get through it. But we
Crystal,
have to stop playing.
Well, let me just, on that point, I'm stopping you for a reason and pick up. And she doesn't need me to speak for her, but I'm going to do it. The majority of the people that lived in Crystal's district when she was in the South Carolina State House were not black. Were white. Okay, that's the fact. Now, y'all believe what the hell you want to believe, but tell the truth, shame the devil. So
so my neighbors definitely got a kick out of the whole I'm a racist thing. I have the lowest black voter base in the state when I won my seat. I only had 17% black voters. Most of my voters were white.
Wow.
And so
that's a hell of an indictment right there, Sean.
I'm here to help folks. If you need help, I'm here to help you. If you want to argue, I ain't here to argue with you. Mm-hmm. But if you get in my way, you don't want them problems. Listen, I just want to say that I really appreciate, Sean, you being here and bringing your experience, because more people like us that have lived through some of this stuff really need to speak more. I know we kind of are more humble and we're like, our voices, we speak when we're asked to speak, And I think we need to really start showing up in spaces. So I don't know if you do already, but I encourage you to advocate more for yourself, to show up in spaces where you feel like you can educate that population of people as to what you really experience versus what they think
Hmm.
or see on the news.
Hmm.
Well, he is
Well, thank you
ironically a
definitely for
professor
that.
and an educator, among other. I mean, he
Yeah.
does it on the show, but he teaches college in Chicago.
Yeah, I teach communications, media, arts, and theater at Chicago State. That's my part-time position, but manage a program for Chicago Appleseed that's called Future Justice Lawyers of Chicago. What I do is teach the next generation of all races of young persons in high school and college that want to become lawyers, and we send them on the path. Right now, the 2025 cohort is working on three reports. One is about healthcare within the prison system. Another one is about the a true a reformation of the criminal justice system. And the final one is students coming together. The majority of students come from immigrant families working on immigration reform from the ground up. Along with that, we do court watching. We submit a report to our voters, nonpartisan, about judges that are on the ballot. And so I've been active in social justice off and on since I was a child, and I actually teach a class on social justice and law at Chicago State. So I've been blessed, and what I try to do is pass those blessings back. Um, if you're a social justice or a person that's right, I don't care if you're conservative, progressive. I don't care if you're liberal. I don't care if you're Christian, non-Christian, non-denomination, atheist.
The
What
labels
I
don't mean
do care
anything,
about,
Sean. The labels,
but
the
what
labels
I
can be
do
a
care about,
distraction, really.
yes. But what I do care about is us leaving a better world for our children. Some of these arguments we're having are tired, old, worn out arguments. And what I'd like to think is we're getting the last vestiges. One of these ways is the last vestiges of ignorance is being pushed out the door, or we're headed back towards a second realistic reconstruction of the United States. And if we're headed that way, I'm hoping that people like Representative Matthews, Geno Jones, a lot of your listeners, like I said, conservative, black, white, progressive, I don't care. We all need to stand on the side of justice. I miss when we had the debates with people like George Will or Thomas Sowell, where we're talking intellectually about our problems and coming in with a solution, as opposed to we're on different sides, red and blue, fighting about stuff while the billionaires steal from the treasury. And so we need to ask ourselves,
I
what
agree.
have we learned? And my final statement is, if you haven't seen the movie Idiocracy, I urge everybody to see that, where we're living in a society where intellect is being disregarded.
Hmm.
And I totally understand what Representative Matthews is talking about. You have to meet people where they're at. And I always urge, especially liberals who are so wonky and want to talk highfalutin to people, you have to learn how to meet people where they're at. But the other dynamic is we cannot continue to legitimize stupidity and ignorance and stuff that just is not factually anywhere argument. That is why conspiracy theories continue to circulate, and now they're stronger and stronger because now you have corporate media perpetuating that. And what you should ask yourself, my final thing is, look at each one of these major corporations that are in the news business. Watch what they advertise. When you see Northwood Drummond and Raython on MSNBC or NBC News on a Sunday morning, I want to ask you, are you able to buy a fighter jet or a surveillance thing? That's not for us. They continue to want, corporations want conflict and disturbance so they can continue with the greed in this country. A CEO makes 1,000 times more than a janitor in the country, at the company. That's not fair. We can't continue this, and we're not going to be able to continue this. You see, that's what's happening now. And so I think it's time for the people to rise up. I urge you to see The Black Messiah, because I love, one of my heroes is Fred Hampton. And what Fred Hampton learned was he could go talk to the Confederates, he could
Mm-hmm.
go talk to the Latin groups,
Yep.
he could go talk to the black folks. And the
Yep.
reason why they killed him was he was going to put together a movement that was going to bring everybody together to fight what's true under the, not only the Constitution, but the United Nations Human Rights Convention. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the way we need to start thinking, because we're at a very dangerous precipice. We didn't vote for the black woman as a collective for whatever reason, and here we are. In South Carolina, you always will have a special part in my heart. I believe that there's a lot of good people there. I'd like to believe my experience when I was there with dreads down my black, working with some rednecks that are not ashamed to be rednecks, that are my friends today, that I helped change them to look at things from my vision, because they allowed me to see things through their eyes. And they're not chimpanzees. So that lets me know that people can change.
And
And
it,
so
they,
we
they
need to be on that path.
they tapped into their humanity. Listen,
Hmm.
I gotta apologize because I was about to let you all go, but I gotta call something out because it's in my chat room, and this is somebody that watches on a regular, and she posts from time to time, but because she's speaking to all of us, and Sean, your legal background, and Crystal with your political background, I'm just gonna read this. So immigration is not a black issue. Uh, That's the problem, y'all. She said, I'm starting to think y'all are immigrants of anchor babies.
Okay, so let me start here, because I need to I deal with
I
this stuff.
know, but go ahead, because I'll let you.
What she don't what this person doesn't know is she's looking at immigrants of color and being angry with them. Do you know who the biggest anchor babies in the country? And they've been for a while. Eastern Bloc European countries, Russians, Hungarians.
Ukraine,
Think about that.
Lithuania.
Ukrainians. I'm not going to go so hard on the Ukrainians because they're actually fleeing from something
Yes.
serious. And I wouldn't go after Syrians because they're fleeing something serious. I wouldn't go after people from Sudan. They're fleeing something serious. It's amazing how a country is built off the destruction of the native people in the country, the enslavement of people of color to the country. Yes, there was only 500,000 of us, but that's still an atonement that the British Empire needs to pay for, along with the United States, the people who benefit this. Now listen how racism works. They take their land, and then we have manifest destiny, which means the white man in this country has the right to have an empire from sea to sea. Then when they set up this empire, what do? They don't allow us black people who are newly free opportunities to go to school, opportunities to buy property, opportunities to vote. When all of those things happen, what do? Black men come back from World War I, who fought for the defense of this country, can't buy a home. Come back from World War II, can't buy a home. What happens during those same times? Those Confederate monuments that's been built not by immigrants that you think are out to get black people. Because I'm gonna tell you one more thing about immigrants, what they do for the country. Uh, Perpetuate this racism that have put in redlining, that, by the way, those major banks, JP Morgan, Chase, Bank of America, still financially benefit from. The reason why black people don't have wealth, let's talk about the Red Summer. Let's talk about Tulsa. Let's talk about all these
Rosewood,
systematic
Wilmington,
things,
North Carolina.
Rosewood, parts of Southern Illinois, all over the country. And so if you're going to talk about immigrants, let's talk about it from this fact. Do you know most of our major scientific discoveries in medicine, technology, and engineering come from immigrants? You'd be surprised. You think immigrants are all coming from the south of the border. There's a lot of immigrants of color that, if you're a black person saying all of this, that are your
And
ancestors
she
from
is. She
Nigeria
is.
and Ethiopia, that are coming to the country to help build equality. So I'm not exactly sure why the beef should be towards immigrants. What it should be is to bring more immigrants into this vessel and making the country better. That does not dismiss local government, state government, and the federal government from doing what they should be doing to help uplift and support the black community, not take care of the black community. But what I'm talking about, the promise that was made in 1865 has not been fulfilled. It is the same blank check that is being returned for insufficient funds that Dr. King talked about, that Frederick Douglass talked about, that W.E.B. Du Bois talked about, that many women in the civil rights movement talked about. That it hasn't been the same. And so
Fannie Lou Hamer.
I look for solidarity with people. I don't think in this country we can stand alone as a black community and be independently supported, be able to sustain anything. First of all, we make up 13% of the entire population.
Yep, somewhere
So
13, 15, probably a little undercut because people don't fill out the census, but so you could round it off 15%, probably a little higher. But if you
and a Hispanic coming here to pick strawberries and do it has no effect on me. Processing meat at the meat packing plants, doing all types of jobs, I have no problem. Young people who came here through no way of their own, have been here since birth, don't know nothing about any of those Latin countries, should have a path to citizenship. Are you upset about the white immigrants that came in a couple of days ago from South
South
Come
Africa
Africa,
on.
that they just
You
made
better
up, that they just made up something? Because if you mad about some brown
you
immigrants,
you
you
preaching
should be
good.
down,
You
you should
preaching
be
good.
down, you should be in Washington, D.C., in front of the State Department, out in front of the White House with your sign complaining about those white South Africans. And
Afrikaners.
guess what? Listen, white South Africans are not going to have no effect on me up here in Illinois or my lawyer job. You know where they coming? They coming to South Carolina. And guess what they coming for? The farms that the state government took from black people, and they are now in the federal land holding. And they finna get those to some white farmers. Let me educate you. Back when I was in high school, we was fighting against apartheid. One reason why apartheid has been stopped because we protest so much that Coca-Cola, GM, all these corporations had to divest from them. They had retirement funds. My grandfather worked for GM for 40 years. He had a retirement fund that his union protests. Whoa, union. That's something a lot of niggas don't like. A union is one of the greatest things you can have if you're going to do manual labor, like working the plant, like this dude is talking about. Immigrants are here to take black
What's a
jobs. You know
woman?
what he's
It's
talking
not a
about?
it's not a guy, it's a
Wait, well,
woman.
let me finish. No, I'm talking about IQ negative 47
Oh,
that
Orange
keeps
Hill, yeah,
saying
yeah. Thank
immigrants
you.
are going to take black jobs. You know what black jobs he's talking about? Shining his shoes, picking fruit, cleaning houses. So I don't have a beef with any of that because I don't see anybody that I knew black in South Carolina lined up to pick anything.
Or white,
Not
Sean,
one.
or white. The reason that these companies who you don't penalize for hiring these quote unquote illegal, undocumented people, because you always hear about the rape, but you don't hear about, and it's selective. I haven't, where one place I haven't heard them rape.
Including the
Yes,
Mar-a-Lago
but hold on.
misogynist
I got you.
rapist
I got
dude.
you one that's good or even better. You know one place outside of there where I haven't heard one huge plant that most of us eat something from. I haven't heard them
Tyson.
raid like a Tyson plant, chicken plant, because they're not going to do that. You know why? Because the CEO then. So,
And let me
so,
tell
so
you
miss
something
me
else.
with
Well,
that. White people.
I'm gonna add to this. White people created this problem because they supported Ronald Reagan back in the 80s. Ronald Reagan is the reason why all these companies were able to ship jobs overseas because he created a tax. His Republican Party created a tax deduction if you shipped your job overseas. Why? They want the bus unions because everybody complaining about $15 an hour, but My grandfather was making $15 an hour in the 50s. In the 80s, he was making something like $60 an hour as a union tool and dial man for Electromotive in LaGrange, Illinois. And they did not like to see, because if you go back and look at the numbers between 1949 and 1975, what you see is not including black folks, but white middle class growing. Only one person in the household worked. A whole lot of things were different. Now, I'm not advocating saying women shouldn't work. What I'm saying is people made enough money to buy a home, take a vacation, health care, pay for their children's
Off one
college.
salary.
College was 85% cheaper than it is now. What people don't understand is they're trying to make education for the privilege. That's why I have to sit here and have an argument about immigration, because people have been trained, misled, and bamboozled by the corporate media, the lack of education in a lot of these school systems, that they don't know history. They don't understand how things that happened 200 years ago are a deep effect to what you're going through now, along with the rollback of voters' rights, rollback of workers' rights, and the
Women's rights.
rollback of constitution rights along with women's rights. Why is women's rights important? If a woman can't make the independent choice when to give birth in the world, that means she has no control over her career, which means it's been said that a person with a college education will make anywhere from $1.5 million to $5 million more over their lifetime than a person without. So what does that tell
Now,
you?
hold on,
They have
Sean.
systems to destroy that.
Hold on, Sean. Sean, let me jump in real quick, and I'm gonna slow this train down and simplify it even more, so that I don't know who's saying the comment, but if I gotta stand shoulder to shoulder with somebody, I want to stand shoulder to shoulder with folks who can add to my life. I have never known our Caucasian brothers or sisters to create anything worth having. They have learned how to steal it, capitalize off of it, monetize it, make it illegal so that they can monetize it. But if I got to fight to be shoulder to shoulder with some folks, it damn well better be somebody who can add to me and not just subtract from me, and not just gather from me and steal my shit and take it and use it for their own good and then push me out. You guys went over all the bombings, all the Wall Street stuff. That was us creating our own. So it kills me now when I hear people say, well, y'all need y'all own. Well, we had our own and y'all didn't like that.
Right. And
because we was doing great.
And bombed it.
And when immigrants come to this country,
yep.
When immigrants of color come to this country, they often come with skills that are already necessary. They're not necessarily gaining any skills. What they're gaining is access to resources, right? Access to amenities, access to tools, but they're not gaining the know-how to do what they already know how to do. So I don't know why folks are like, well, we shouldn't be fighting for immigration. Listen, most of the people, the top 3 countries that immigrate to the United States are Mexico, India, and China. I'm gonna leave it right there, Geno.
And let me just to piggyback, and Sean, if you can, I want you to jump back on. So, Great Hustle 843, I'm name checking her. Let me just say this. Let's talk about our ancestors were forced immigrants. They didn't ask to come here. And to piggyback off what you just said, Crystal, our ancestors weren't brought here because they didn't have skills. Our ancestors were brought here because the colonizers that brought them here didn't have no damn skills outside of knowing how to kill and steal and destroy. Our ancestors were brought to places like South Carolina. 40% of all the enslaved Africans came through this port, right 10 miles from where I'm standing right now, in downtown Charleston. And they came because they knew how to grow crop, because the colonizers didn't know how to grow shit, which is how they damn near starved to death that first Thanksgiving when the Native Americans saved their ass. because we knew how to.
The original welfare babies to the country
Right.
were the Pilgrims. Because if it wasn't for the Indians, they wouldn't have made it through
Right.
that first summer. So just think about it. And
Right. Well, let me
I just
finish,
want to
Sean.
point out something.
Let me just finish up that
I
piggyback.
wonder, is that person a Christian?
It's
Because
going to tie
I'm
into
just
you.
curious about that part too.
So our ancestors were forced immigrants because of their skills, because they knew how to grow rice and burlap, and they were artisans. They knew how to build things that they were building and growing in West Africa and other parts of Africa. And I'm going to close and toss. I'm tossing you on my alley you this pass, Sean. While you call 3 black people anchor babies, that shows that you've been hoodwinked and bamboozled, because you focused on that, and that they're a problem with 2 things. First of all, those same immigrants that you don't want us to protect, if you don't think who's up next, if you don't think your black ass is who is up next, why do you think birthright citizenship? I got a lawyer on camera. Why do you think they're trying to get rid of this birthright citizenship? You think they're going to stop it? Anchor babies or those whose parents were here undocumented, that were born in America. You think they're going to stop there? Do you not think that they are going to find their way to get your black ass out of here? Because if you do, you are foolish. You are sadly mistaken. And in closing, because I didn't know where we was going here, but I read this, I had to say something. My denunciation is black empowerment. Okay, I'm not paying attention to you greatly, because I had to check you once before on this show. Because
okay, I respect
hold on,
that.
let me finish. Because I've had this conversation with her before. Hold on. Because don't tell me how pro-black you are. Show me, and I will close by saying this once again. You can call us anchor babies. You can be upset about immigration, but you need to keep your eye on the ball, because all of this other stuff is a distraction. So like Sean said, they can continue to steal. They can cut benefits. And where do you think all that money's going? Elon Musk's company's getting $8 million. Why do you want to think that they want to get rid of the Medicaid that 72 million Americans get? Why do you think they want to get rid of the Social Security that 68 million Americans get? Because they want to take that money and give it to people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg.
Mind you, you done paid into Social Security your whole life, Geno.
Right.
But if
and that's your money.
But you can only work a certain amount of hours if you're getting it.
So go ahead, Sean.
You under their foot.
Right. Go ahead, Sean.
I'm done. I'm done. I don't even think that person know what an anchor baby is. we can't waste no more time when they can Google definitions. I mean.
Go ahead, Sean.
Because we talk like we got fresh accents, must be. I ain't know.
Well, you know, because I'm a college professor, and so I hear, you know, all types of things. And what I've learned over the years is that, like we said earlier, I try to meet people where they're at. I'm hoping that the young person that's on has learned something. And I appreciate the dialogue, because sometimes we don't know what people don't know. And I think it's important that shows like this, who have the bandwidth, because look, on CNN, these type of conversations go on and there's never a fact check. There's never anything that it just rolls on. And so hopefully, I'd like to believe the person is a highly intelligent person and they want to learn, they want to be a part of the solution, because I can understand that. But what I'm trying to explain to them is, don't get on the wrong side of that argument. That's a different kind of argument. I think the refocus is to get down in the community. We need to pick up where the federal government is going to fall short for a lot of people in our community. That means volunteering. If we're successful, we've been giving food to food banks, especially over the summer with the kids, them cutting some of the funds for lunches for students over the summer who really need this. I think that should be the focus, at least amongst Black folks, if we can't come to a solution, or we're getting into these knockout, drag out debates when that's not really important now. What's important is we deal with the issues. What's important is that when it comes time to vote, we're all on the same page and move forward to assert our political power. Because let me tell you something. Coming up in 2026, that's going to really tell you whether the nail is in the coffin or a comeback is coming. And I think it's important that we kind of put aside our I won't call them petty differences, but our family debates, and let's focus on taking care of our community and trying to bring more people to the ballot booth, and at the same time trying to get more people like Representative Matthews and people that can represent the community, no matter what the community looks like, onto the ballot, so that we can do some change, from the dog catcher to the senators of the United States. That's going to be critical moving forward. And that's all I got to say.
This was one of the most dynamic panels I ever had. So y'all just gonna have to tell me no, but I'm gonna at least monthly, if not bi-monthly, and both of y'all know it, and you guys have been gracious with your time. And I know anytime I ask, if you're not teaching class, or if you don't have some other engagement, because Crystal's like everything, representative, social justice warrior, activist, mom, wife. She got a whole bunch of. But she's always super generous. I called her one time, and she actually answered the phone. I said, "Girl, why'd you answer the phone?" She was in Ohio. Your family was having an event. But she always, to her credit, if I call Sean, she always picks up. And just like you, because you guys are family. But it's your brilliance and excellence, and you all have the passion with the brilliance. So y'all come with the fire and the receipts. See, a lot of folks, they come with the fire, but they ain't got no receipts. But y'all lead with the receipts and had that fire and the smoke coming right behind it. So we're living in those times. So definitely you will see these guys at least monthly, bi-monthly, because we are living in those times. So, all right, Rep. Matthews, we need to promote their website. I love it. And we need to talk tomorrow, because your website, that needs to be promoted on this show every day. So I need to talk to you. We need to talk Political Hub LLC. Somebody needs to underwrite this, and they need to be a sponsor. And we're going to run ads for Political Hub LLC, create commercials that will run on the show twice a day. There you go. So if somebody's watching, they need to call Crystal and underwrite that. And, I'll put together the sponsorship package, and you guys need to underwrite that so we can promote this website. It is so important. Crystal, let everybody else give us all the other social media platform contact information that you want us to have.
I appreciate that, Geno. Yeah, please visit the website, sign up to be a member. It's designed to grow with you. If there's something you don't see that you think you should see, I have the autonomy to go in and add a section. That way, I feel like everybody can go to one spot and kind of see what's going on. I don't really have any biased content or anything like that on there. If people pay for advertisements, of course, those will be on there. But this is really a place where you can go and be informed. And again, all 50 states have links straight to their legislative branch right on the site. There's a link to the White House News. If you're not sure where people are finding out what's going on quickly, this would be a good place for you to go, because you could just click the link and it will show up. So I even have the ability to link YouTube pages, like yours. So just let me know what you're looking for. And you can also follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is public. It's Crystal Matthews _81. And that's on Instagram. So follow me there. And thank you for having me as well, Geno. Sean, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. I hope that we get to do this again. Yeah, this
ain't no hope.
This is one of my favorites.
Forget all that hope.
Look,
I'm gonna just keep it 1,000. Forget all that hope shit. Y'all always.
I got family that live in Chicago, so
well, shout them out. Shout them out.
Oh, my Uncle Victor lives in Chicago. My cousin Venus and Victory live in Chicago. So I'm excited. And there's a host of other Matthews. We have a whole nother Matthew side that lives in Chicago as well. So I'm pretty excited. We go there every year for the car show. So.
Oh, the auto show? Man, that's when it's cold as hell. Now's the time to go to Chicago. Yeah.
I was raised in Ohio. I mean.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But you're here now, like
I'm here now.
Sean is back in that cold weather, which I would be cool with.
Hey.
But Damaris claimed her blood and got too thin. She can't stand being cold. That's a whole different conversation. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. No, you're gonna see them on a regular because this is one of the best panels, not just that I've seen on this show, but I've seen on anybody's platform anywhere. Period. So I thank you guys for blessing me with this. Sean, let everybody know the social media contacts that you want the public to have access to. Let us know. Oh, those
Yeah.
op-eds are great. Please let us know where we can read those op-eds, those editorials you've been writing, because you wrote some
So
brilliant
what I would
editorials.
what I would say is that you could check out you can look for Future Justice Lawyers of Chicago online, and also the Chicago Council of Lawyers and Chicago Appleseed. Those are all three organizations kind of work in concert with what I do. And I'm starting to do more op-ed writing. There's a lot of things that they're trying to, I won't discuss some of the things that are about to happen, but yeah, they're starting to try to put my presence a little bit more out in the media. So sooner or later, you might see me on MSNBC, or
Oh,
you
great.
might even see me on Fox News.
Would tell them,
Um,
that you still
yeah.
got to be able to come on my show. Damn it, I don't want, because they'll be.
Oh no, this is me doing my own thing. You got to always remember I have Osiris Media that I still manage, and so this is always under Osiris Media and Consulting. And shout out to my South Carolina family, especially Charleston. You know, I spent like 12 years there, and so what's up, Chucktown? I remember my first time coming there. Somebody told me you need to go to the Slave Museum, and I was like, okay. And so I won't say I decided that I was gonna, be the Bob Marley of my era while I was there. Let me just put it that way. And so I decided to have some libations and partake in some Bob Marley ritual, and I went to the Slave Museum. And I don't think I made it 5 minutes in, and I was in tears. And it allowed me to start researching about myself. So it's funny that when you say that the majority of the slaves that originally come to the United States come through
40% came through this
Charleston.
port. Yep.
Yes.
40%.
My ancestors are a part of that 40%. I actually went to the custom house and
Wow.
looked up the information, and it's there. You can see it, because what people have to remember is that slaves were property. So the
Yes.
United States government put a tariff. So think about that. They don't owe nobody nothing. We shouldn't have reparations, but they put a tariff on your ancestors' ass.
A tariff?
That
No,
the
not a
government-
not a tariff,
tax.
Sean. Not a
Come on,
tariff.
import taxes have been real. The country is no more than a separate British corporation. Our Constitution is written the same way you write bylaws for a corporation.
Now listen, y'all, we're gonna be here all night. This was the
Yeah,
wrap up.
I'm gone. I'm gone.
All right.
We have to have a whole nother show.
See, Crystal,
Hey, you gotta have us
no,
back on.
she got to get.
This is part two.
Well, we all got a family to get to, but that was important. All right, so listen, you guys will be back soon. And Crystal, reach out to me. We gotta get a sponsor for it. Political Hub LLC. What is that again? Political Hub LLC. .com. All right, I just wanted to be sure I had that. I thought so. .com. All right, Sean, thank you, man. I'll reach out. I'm going to reach out to you tomorrow. I'll text you. You'll let me know what time you're available. And Crystal, we need to talk, because I'm serious. We need to get, somebody needs to underwrite that sponsorship and put that TV commercial, because we need to be running that, promoting that every day on this show, the open and the close, because that is an incredible resource. And if you haven't, you need to talk to Dr. Greg Carr on Sirius XM, and your girl Laree, and you got Clay Kane and Karen Hunter. You need to be on all of them shows again.
I will definitely call in again. Listen, y'all, Geno had put me on so hard. I wasn't even prepared to talk on Urban View. And then Karen Hunter sent me a mic because she was like, we got to set you up. So listen, Geno is the guy.
No, well, listen, I believe in you, my sister. You know, like Sean said, we need, it's warriors. We got to, we're all we got. I'm going to end by saying this, and I've been saying this really since November 5th. We're all we got, but we're all we need. Thank you, guys. I love you both. I appreciate you. Listen, great show, everybody. Thank you. Great Hustle 843. Look, I'm hard on you, and I hear what you're saying that, we got to get back to us. But, you just need to listen to what we're saying here. I hear what you're saying, but, your anger is misplaced, and you just because people are rotten and lousy, that they don't get a pass. Just because we know that we got this racist, sexist, misogynist cult that's messed up, you don't get a pass for being fucked up. Got to hold them accountable. Now, if there's some Democrats that's on some bullshit-ish, hold everybody. Hold me, hold my guest, hold yourself. We all have to be held accountable. Let me get out of here. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you, and especially you, God, most of all. Thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show live. Monday through Friday, normally, my normal days, start days and times, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Central Time, Chicago. Hello, everybody on Central Time. 3:30 p.m. on the West Coast, live in Los Angeles. Everybody on the West Coast, subscribe to my channel. Please click the thumbs up. Leave your comments in the comment section for this episode and every episode. Screen grab, chop up some of the conversation, make it go viral. Binge watch all my back episodes. Please subscribe to the channel. Once again, please financially support my media company, this platform, so you can continue to hear voices like myself and Crystal Matthews, Rep Matthews, and Sean Mitchell, and all my guests. So you can make a financial contribution. Just go, you do it two ways. You can Zelle me, you can Zelle my company, you can just type in Zelle, Geno Jones, and then use my email address, which is genojonesshow@gmail, genojonesshow@gmail, or you can do both, or you can Cash App, $ Dad G Jones, $ capital D like David, lowercase a like Apple, lowercase d like Daddy, capital G like Geno, capital J like Jones, lowercase o like Oprah, lowercase n like Nancy, lowercase e like Elephant, lowercase s like Sam. $ Dad, capital D, lowercase AD, capital G, capital J, lowercase ONES, $ Dad G Jones. That's on Cash App, all right? Mark Hill Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the show. Check him out on Instagram, on IG, Kel B Cutting Up, KELBECUTTINUP. Allie Jones, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist. Check out Allie and her Lexi Jones collection on IG, Instagram, LX.NCL_LX.N like Nanette, C like Charlie, L like Lexi _. And shout out to Bruce Gage, wardrobe consultant, stylist for the show. Check out his Mario Uomo collection on IG, Instagram. Mario Uomo is UOMO, Mario Uomo, UOMO on Instagram. Bruce Gage on Facebook. We'll see you live Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.